listening to Planery, the podcast, your guide to home building, renovation and design. I'm your host, Emma, an architect and business owner with over 15 years industry experience, bringing you new episodes each week to answer all of your questions and provide clarity so you feel confident to design your dream home. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. If you're a returning listener, thank you so much for joining us again. But if this is your first episode, welcome to the Planery community. Today we're going to be diving into a topic that's not only trendy, but also incredibly important, and that is sustainable building materials. So when we're renovating or building a home, it's a really, really big task, and choosing eco-friendly materials is one of the best ways to make sure your project is more environmentally responsible and has a lot of greater longevity, because there is a lot of life cycle factors that come into these materials. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be unpacking, which is maintenance, life cycle, embodied energy, and all of the things that surround sustainable materials. Sustainable materials often come with added benefits as well, and some extra ones are improved energy efficiency and long-term cost savings. In fact, a recent study by the Green Building Council of Australia found that buildings designed with sustainability in mind can reduce energy consumption by up to 50%. So in this episode, we will be discussing what makes materials sustainable, exploring some of the most popular eco-friendly options that are available to us in Australia, and also sharing some tips on how you can incorporate these materials into your home design or renovation, whether that be your dream home that you're building from scratch or renovating something as well. So by the end, you will have a solid understanding of how to make greener choices that can benefit both you, your home, and the planet. Before we get into the specifics, let's define what we mean by a sustainable building materials. Essentially, there are different materials that have a lower environmental impact throughout their life cycles. So this includes everything from how they're sourced, where they're sourced, how they're manufactured, and how they're used and disposed of. So it is the entire material life cycle. There are a few key criteria to consider when evaluating materials, and I'm going to run through a couple of them now. Renewability is number one. So is the material sourced from renewable sources like bamboo or cork? Is it contributing to deforestation or not? Are you really checking for those FSC or forest certified tags when you're looking at these materials? And do they regenerate quickly and don't deplete natural resources? The second point is recyclability. So can the material be recycled at the end of its life? For example, steel and aluminium are highly recyclable and they really do retain their properties after reuse. So that is a really good recyclability example. Number 3 is energy efficiency. Does the material contribute to better insulation in your home or energy savings? So this could be things like double glazed windows. They could be UVPC, which are thermally broken windows. It could be insulated concrete using things like XPS. So there are a bunch of different things that can contribute to energy efficiency. Maybe it's even bumping up the insulation to higher R values or using materials that have a better R value for the overall wall system as well. And that is something that I run through my clients when we're doing the more detailed part of their design process. And of course, a lot of this is more relevant to a new home design because it is harder to kind of upspec the entire building envelope when you're doing a renovation, because you've got to upgrade the existing part of the house and then build the new part of the house to the latest standards, which in Australia is 7 stars for the energy rating. The last point is local sourcing. So was the material produced locally? And choosing local, so Australian made from a bunch of different manufacturers, potentially ones that are even really close to your home. This will reduce transportation emissions and it really does support the local economy. And not to mention, we have some incredible resources and incredible products here in Australia. So there really isn't that need to look offshore unless cost is of a massive concern. Here in Australia, we also have a National Waste Policy Action Plan, and this has highlighted the importance of using recycled materials in home building and home design to reduce waste and promote that circular economy. And this is really best practice when you're talking about sustainable materials, because these initiatives not only help the environment, but they also drive innovation in building technology. Now that we know what to look for in terms of the baseline principles for those sustainable materials, let's talk about some of the most popular sustainable options that we have here in Australia. So the first one I want to run past you is recycled timber. So recycled or reclaimed timber is a really fantastic option for flooring, for exposed beams, and also for furniture design as well. Not only does it give new life to old wood, but it also adds a lot of character and warmth to your home. For example, a Melbourne-based renovation project that was featured in the Green Design magazine used a lot of salvaged timber from some decommissioned railway sleepers, and it created the most stunning flooring with a beautiful backstory as well. The second material is bamboo. Bamboo is one of the most underrated renewable resources on the planet. It is growing up to 90 centimeters in a single day, so it's a very strong, versatile plant and very perfect for flooring, cabinetry, and even a couple of decorative components as well. There are some companies like House of Bamboo in Sydney which offer a range of bamboo products, so you could even head over and browse their website or just do a bit of Google searching to try and find products that are tailored for Australian homes and our local climate. Next, there are insulated panels. So insulated panels are nothing terribly new, but I feel like they're becoming a newer product that is mentioned in more and more conversations when clients come to me looking to build a new home, or even when you're adding that extension on the back and you're wanting to do something that has better insulation and is quicker and easier to install. So insulated panels made from materials like SIPs or SIP panels, which are structural insulated panels, can be a really good option. And there's also straw bales as well, which can provide excellent thermal performance, which will reduce your energy consumption and your overall carbon footprint. A 2023 study by the CSIRO showed that homes built with SIPs achieve 40% better energy efficiency compared to traditional building methods. This next material is probably my favorite building material of all time, and I am actually fortunate enough to be doing a new home build, which is about to start out on site with some clients, and that is with rammed earth. Rammed earth walls are not only incredibly visually appealing, but they also offer great insulation and durability. They're made from a mixture of soil, sand, and clay, which is compressed to form solid walls. And if you've ever seen a rammed earth wall, they just look absolutely magnificent. If you haven't, please Google it or look on Pinterest and bring up a couple examples of rammed earth homes. This technique is particularly suited to Australia's dry climate as well, and was featured heavily in the award-winning Sustainable House Day project. So it has a great background, and they are a very, very popular way to build a house, and you can even do an entire house facade out of rammed earth if you really wanted to. Another material is recycled metal. So as I kind of previously touched on, steel and aluminium are both durable and recyclable. So they're perfect for structural elements, roofing, and even decorative accents like some stair railings or light fixtures. And according to the Australian Steel Institute, using recycled steel can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 30% compared to new steel. Another clever material that is very sustainable but also really healthy for your indoor air quality is low-VOC paints. So VOCs are volatile organic compounds, and they are quite harmful chemicals which are found in many traditional paints. Low-VOC paints are a much safer option for both your health and for the environment, while they still provide a beautiful finish. So it would be really unlikely that you would even notice the difference, and I would say low-VOC paints are pretty much considered industry standard now. So you can look at brands like Dulux or Hames, and both of these offer eco-friendly options which are widely available in Australia. Last one on my list, but certainly by no means the exhaustive list of sustainable materials, is green roofs and living walls. So these ones are, again, just an absolute favorite. I really love bringing the outdoor in, and green roofs and living walls are excellent for urban homes. They can not only add a lot of insulation and reduce heat absorption, but they'll also improve your air quality. A study conducted by RMIT University actually found that green roofs can lower internal building temperatures by up to 4 degrees Celsius, which will significantly reduce cooling costs. Before we dive into the tips for incorporating sustainable materials, I want to take a quick moment to share something really exciting. If you're enjoying this episode and want to stay up to date with the latest home renovation, new home builds, design trends, sustainability insights, and so much more, make sure you visit our website at www.planery.com.au. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. We do have constantly developing products on the website. We've got a bunch of free ebooks and PDF guides guides. We are going to be doing some in-person events later this year, and we do have some masterclasses and online courses as well. So it's definitely the best way to get exclusive content, early access to new episodes, and special offers which are tailored just for our Planery community. Subscribing is quick, easy, and free, and I promise we will not spam you. We just have a weekly newsletter that goes out with everything in one place. Now let's get back to those tips for incorporating sustainable materials in your home. Now that you have a good idea of what materials are out there, you might have even taken down a couple of notes of things that you really want to investigate for your project. Let's discuss how you can incorporate them into your home. So tip number 1 is to start with the big impact areas. And by that, I mean you should focus on areas that will use the most materials. So that is places like your flooring, your walls, and your insulation, or what we might refer to as the overall building envelope. Choosing sustainable options here will have the greatest environmental impact, and an example of that would be replacing traditional insulation with sheep's wool or recycled cellulose that could improve energy efficiency and overall sustainability. Tip number 2 is to work with eco-conscious professionals. When you're hiring architects, designers, or builders, look for professionals who have experience with sustainable projects. So that might not necessarily mean that they are Passive House certified, because my studio, for example, we do sustainable projects, but we are not yet Passive House certified. And that's because we believe that all projects should have a little bit of a sustainable aspect, and we can guide you toward the best materials and practices for your needs. And for those clients who really want to go the extra mile and get their house certified, we can get a specialist on board. But for everybody else, I'd like to say that best practice is passive principles, and that is best for you, your home, your family, and your budget. Platforms like Archify Australia can showcase eco-conscious professionals and their portfolios as well, but you can also just start the conversation with either myself at Planery or with any of the professionals in your life, and just ask them about their core values, because sustainability really is something that is different for everybody, and there are differing levels of it. So it's really important to grasp an understanding of whether or not you're on the same page with your professionals. Tip number 3 is to do your research. Not all materials labeled as eco-friendly are truly sustainable. Look for certifications like GECA, which is the Good Environmental Choice Australia, or FSC, which is Forest Stewardship Council, to ensure you're making informed choices. For example, the FSC certified timber ensures responsible forestry practices, and this should be best practice for majority of flooring suppliers in Australia. And if you ask, they will have brochures and the correct trade literature that they should be able to give you to show you the life cycle of their products. Tip number 4 is to consider the life cycle costs. While some sustainable materials might cost more upfront, they often do save money in the long run through reduced energy bills and lower maintenance costs. Think of it as an investment into the future, and particularly if you are building a new home from scratch, you are going to live there for probably 5, 10, 15, 20 years, maybe even longer. So having materials that are going to last a distance and be low maintenance, but also be just as good as the day you installed them, is incredibly important, so that you're not stuck with needing to do a renovation because things have really dropped below the standards and are not providing you with a home that you love living in. A study by Beyond Zero Emissions highlighted that energy efficiency renovations typically pay for themselves within 5 to 10 years. So again, by that stage, you may be thinking that you want to sell and move into a new home, but knowing that your home will have retained good value in the market because it still has those core principles is a really great selling point when you're speaking with a real estate agent. Tip number 5 is to embrace secondhand options. Don't overlook salvage yards and online marketplaces. You can often find great deals for materials like tiles, bricks, and fixtures, and repurposing these items can not only save you money, but it will also add a really unique charm and story to your home. The Recycled Building Yard in Brisbane is a great resource for finding some hidden gems, so if you're located in Queensland, definitely add that to your list and go and have a look. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to share my key takeaways in case you wanted to take a couple of additional notes on things to look into. The first one is sustainable building materials are better for the environment, better for your health, and better for your wallet. Number 2 is that popular options in Australia include recycled timber, bamboo, recycled brick, insulated panels, rammed earth, and low-VOC paints. Number 3 is to focus on the high impact areas of your home where sustainable choices will make the biggest change, and that is the areas like walls, flooring, and insulation. And my final tip is working with eco-conscious professionals and doing your research to ensure that you are making the best choice for you. Thank you so much for joining me on the latest episode of Planery. If you found this helpful, please make sure you are following us on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and why not share it with someone who's planning a renovation or a brand new home build. I'll be back next time with even more tips and inspiration to help you create your dream home. And as a little teaser for our next episode, we'll be talking about designing the perfect kitchen, a space which is both functional and stylish as the heart of your home. You won't want to miss it, so make sure you've got your notifications on. Until then, take care and happy planning.